The automatic doors of a pet store slide open, and out comes a family with a new leash, a giant bag of treats, a squeaky toy the size of a grape, and absolute confidence. Most pet owner mistakes survive because they sound loving, look normal, or were handed down by someone who once had a Labrador in 1998. How many bad decisions stay alive simply because they feel like affection in costume? By the end of this file, the pattern stops looking cute and starts looking expensive, exhausting, and impossible to unsee. 1. At the apartment mailbox, the dog's new tag still carries the breeder's phone number because nobody got around to changing it. Then the back gate swings open, the leash slips, and the first person who finds him is calling a stranger 3 towns away. A metal circle smaller than a cookie just turned a simple scare into a full neighborhood search. 2. In a grocery store parking lot, the retractable leash keeps extending because more length feels like more freedom. Then the dog spots a cart, a child, and half a drop sandwich at once. And the thin cord cuts across 3 walking paths like invisible fishing line. Nothing says responsible ownership quite like turning a sedan row into a surprise obstacle course. 3. Every family dinner creates the same tiny tribunal under the table. One person slides bacon, another offers mashed potatoes. Someone else decides grapes are probably fine in small amounts. And the pet learns that begging works because the room never agrees. The meal ends, the stomach does not. And suddenly, affection is making noises at 2 in the morning. 4. By Saturday afternoon, the dog park gate becomes a substitute for training. Exercise, judgment, and common sense. The owner unclipping the leash calls it socialization, but real social skills do not appear by magic in a fenced field full of overstimulated strangers. 10 seconds later, one dog is overwhelmed, another is rude, and 6 humans are pretending they know whose bark started it. 5. The chew toy looks adorable in the aisle because it is shaped like sushi and colored like candy. What nobody notices until later is that it can fit almost entirely in the dog's mouth, which is exactly the size test that matters. Cute lasts 5 minutes. Panic in the living room lasts a whole lot longer. 6. At the front door, 2 dogs meet nose to nose on tight leashes because their people want to let them say hi. Tight restraint changes body language fast, and now a normal greeting feels like a traffic stop with fur. Both owners lean in smiling. Both dogs stiffen, and the social event dies right there on the welcome mat. 7. Every other Sunday, the shampoo bottle comes out because the dog smells like dog. What gets washed away, along with the dirt, is the natural oil layer that helps the skin stay comfortable. So the coat gets drier, itchier, and somehow smellier in the long run. The bathroom looks fresh. The scratching starts by bedtime. 8. The tiny costume gets more laughs than the actual animal inside it. A pet that already dislikes handling is now zipped, buttoned, tied, and displayed for photos while its ears flatten and its body freezes. The comments online say adorable. The creature wearing the pirate hat would prefer a lawyer, too. 9. When the workday runs long, the puppy gets treated like a decorative roommate who should understand adult schedules. Bladders do not care about meetings, and boredom does not respect overtime. So the hallway shoe, the rug corner, and the drywall all start contributing to the conversation. By evening, the apartment looks like resentment learned to chew. 10. On the living room floor, the laser pointer delivers the perfect cat owner illusion. Instant exercise with 0 effort. What the cat never gets is the satisfaction of actually catching anything. So the game ends with a body full of chase energy and no object to finish on. The red dot disappears, and the furniture starts paying for it. 11. In a tidy laundry room, the food bowls and the litter box get lined up together because that corner is the pet area. Most cats take one look at the arrangement and quietly object. Since animals generally prefer not to dine beside the place they bury waste, the owner reads it as fussiness. The cat reads it as a housing crisis. 12. Because the old litter box location looked messy in the guest bathroom. It gets moved to the basement overnight without negotiation. Cats map their routine through place and smell, not interior design goals. So, sudden relocation often creates confused laps around the house instead of instant adaptation. The new box is pristine. The upstairs rug is about to become expressive. 13. On the couch. The belly flash gets misread as an invitation when it is often just trust. Balance or heat management. The hand goes in anyway. The cat twists like a spring-loaded trap. And now everyone acts shocked that a warning flag was not a green light. The living room lesson arrives one scratched wrist at a time. 14. At a family barbecue, the youngest cousin runs at the dog with both arms wide because adults keep calling it adorable. Pets are not carnival rides, and small children often move in exactly the jerky. Loud, boundary freeway, nervous animals hate most. The dog retreats, the kid cries, and the grown-ups blame the only one who never got the safety briefing. 15. The nail clippers stay in the drawer for months because nobody wants to be the bad guy. Long nails change how a pet stands and moves. And over time, even ordinary walking can turn awkward because the foot never lands quite right. The living room floor clicks like tap shoes. Then the couch throw gets hooked for the 6th time. 16. Somewhere between breed stereotypes and viral videos, a whole purchase decision gets built on fantasy. The family says they wanted a chill dog, a friendly cat, or a quiet rabbit, as if species came factory programmed by adjective. Then real temperament shows up, daily needs show up, and the household discovers it bought a life instead of a label. 17. At a sunny baseball field, the dog chases the tennis ball over and over because it still seems eager. Drive can outlast judgment, especially when excitement is masking fatigue. So the owner keeps throwing while the tongue hangs lower and the pace gets stranger. The crowd sees enthusiasm. The dog is running on lousy management. 18. The kitchen trash has no lid because the pet has never bothered it before. That statement expires the first time rotisserie bones, bacon wrappers, and something sweet-smelling all land in the same bag. One unattended hour later, the floor looks like a raccoon audition, and the evidence trail leads straight to the couch. 19. Half the house rewards the same behavior and calls it love. Grandma hands out biscuits for blinking. The kids reward barking because it is funny. And one adult sneaks scraps whenever the pet looks especially sincere. By the time somebody tries to fix the habit, the animal has been paid by 4 departments and unionized. 20. Recall gets treated like a dramatic word owners will deal with later, after the pet is older, calmer, smarter, or somehow self-trained. Then a gate cracks open, or a leash clip fails, and suddenly the household is trying to invent emergency response in a sprint. The yard becomes a courtroom where no one can prove they ever practiced. 21. Out on the highway. The dog's head in the window feels like the official image of pet joy. Then the opening gets wider, the speed gets higher, and debris, insects, and wild overconfidence all start sharing the same lane. A cute car moment turns into a reminder that freedom looks different when physics joins the ride. Erin Francis Verdemwan. 22. The little dog rides in the front seat because he hates the back, which is how many terrible decisions begin. A sudden stop does not care about size, loyalty, or cuteness, and arms are not safety equipment, no matter how attached the owner feels. The dashboard was not designed as a launch destination. 23. Holiday guests arrive. Music rises, chairs scrape, doors stay open, and the most sensitive pet in the house gets told to join the fun. What humans call festive often sounds like a long emergency to an anxious animal, especially when strangers keep reaching down with loud voices and unfamiliar hands. By dessert, somebody is hiding under a bed on purpose. 24. Across a busy sidewalk, the owner says he's friendly, as if that sentence works like a permit. Friendly is not the same thing as welcome, trained, calm, or well-timed. And the oncoming dog may be recovering, fearful, elderly, or simply uninterested in your optimism. The leash slackens. The tension rises, and diplomacy fails in about 3 feet. 25. In the vet lobby, the pet owner watches another animal and decides forced greetings will get it over with. Nobody asked the animals, of course, and nobody notices the tucked tail, the hard stare, or the slow freeze before the sniff. The waiting room was already stressful. Now it also has a live demonstration of avoidable bad judgment. The first layer of this file is still the friendly version. Tiny habits, familiar shortcuts, cheerful nonsense dressed up as care. The next layer is where convenience gets teeth, money gets involved, and routine mistakes start lasting longer than the laugh. 26. Tooth care stays on the future to-do list because the pet is young, cute, energetic, and currently not making anyone think about molars by the time bad breath gets strong enough to register across the sofa. The problem has usually been renting space for a while. Neglect always sounds cheaper right up until it stops being cheaped. 27. When appetite dips, energy changes, or the litter box looks off, many owners wait for a bigger sign because dramatic symptoms feel more official. Animals are annoyingly subtle on purpose. So, the let's just watch it phase can become the most expensive scene in the episode. Quiet changes rarely improve because nobody admired their patience. 28. In the bathroom cabinet sits an entire museum of human confidence. Pain relievers, cold medicine, creams, supplements, all waiting to be guessed at. Pets process substances differently, which is a polite biological way of saying your household pharmacy is not a buffet of flexible options. The owner says just a little. The emergency call hears that every week. So, 29. Portion sizes get guessed by eye because the bowl looks about right and the pet does not seem offended. The problem is that looks about right expands by a few kibbles here, a little topper there, and several emotionally loaded snacks by evening. Weight gain rarely storms in. It just keeps renewing the lease. Oh, 30. In a spotless kitchen, the cleaner smells like pine, citrus, lavender, and victory to a pet walking, licking, grooming, and breathing close to the floor. Heavy fragrance can be less like cleanliness and more like a chemical announcement nobody requested. The house smells premium. The animal keeps avoiding the room like it owes rent. 31. The carrier only appears on the worst days, which means the pet has years to learn the exact shape of bad news. By the time the carrier comes out from the closet, the cat is already under the bed, operating from historical evidence. Owners call it stubbornness. The cat calls it pattern recognition. 32. Because the cat lives indoors, the household assumes safety automatically equals satisfaction. Then the blinds become the only entertainment. The hallway becomes the only hunting ground. And the same beige couch becomes the only landscape on earth. Boredom is rarely silent. It usually redecorates in shredded corners and midnight sprinting. 33. Puppy pads were supposed to be temporary, but the convenience settles in like a bad contract. The dog learns that absorbent squares indoors are acceptable toilets. And later the logic stretches beautifully onto bath mats, laundry piles, and anything similarly rectangular. Somewhere along the way, the house stopped being a home and started becoming a suggestion. 34. At dinner, a new pet gets switched to premium food in one proud, dramatic move because owners love a grand opening. Stomachs, unfortunately, prefer negotiations to surprise rebranding. So a sudden diet change often turns the next day into a digestive press conference. The bag says wholesome. The cleanup says premature. 35. The fancy water fountain hums beautifully on the counter and photographs like a lifestyle upgrade. Then nobody takes it apart often enough, and the machine built to encourage hydration becomes a weird little ecosystem with opinions of its own. Modern pet ownership loves gadgets almost as much as gadgets love regular cleaning. 36. Before anyone works on loose leash walking, recall, or basic calm behavior, an online cart fills with corrective hardware promising instant transformation. Tools without skill usually magnify confusion, and now the dog is learning discomfort, owner frustration, and mixed signals all at once. Nothing says training progress like both parties getting mad at physics. 37. In the park, strangers keep asking for just one treat because the pet is friendly and the owner wants to appear easygoing. By the fifth random snack source, nobody knows who is reinforcing jumping, who is worsening stomach trouble, or who just taught the dog to mug every stroller in sight. Public generosity has excellent unintended consequences. 38. The limp looks funny on video for about 6 seconds, which is unfortunately long enough for somebody to upload it with a laughing caption. Instead of asking why the gait changed, the room votes for comedy and waits for internet validation. The algorithm gets a clip, The pet gets delayed attention and terrible PR at say 39. A growl is often the most honest warning system in the house, which is exactly why so many people punish it. Remove the warning without changing the fear, and you do not create a nicer animal. You create a quieter surprise. The room celebrates better manners right up until the moment communication stops being generous. 40. On a rainy work week, enrichment gets replaced by hope. No sniff walk, no puzzle feeder, no training game, no chew rotation, no real outlet at all. Just a bored brain marinating in furniture access and unmet needs. Destruction is not always rebellion. Sometimes it is what happens when intelligence gets left with throw pillows and time. 41. The holiday table is full of candles, ribbons, shiny cords, seasonal plants, and little decorative pieces nobody thinks about twice. Pets, sadly, are experts at investigating exactly the item that looks least survivable in a photo montage. The room feels festive to humans. To an animal, it looks like a brightly lit dare. 42. The supplement shelf grows because modern owners trust jars more than routine. Calming chews, skin chews, joint chews, probiotic powder, fish oil, mushroom blend, miracle drops. Suddenly, the pet has a wellness stack larger than a retired athlete's. The daily schedule gets complicated enough to feel serious, which many people mistake for effective. 43. A viral breed trend hits the feed, and within a month, the same dogs are appearing in tiny apartments, chaotic households, and lifestyles built around everyone being gone all day. Popularity is not compatibility, and internet fame does not lower exercise needs by 1 inch. The comments section said perfect. The hallway says otherwise. 44. In older pets, the early changes arrive looking almost rude instead of meaningful. The dog hesitates before the stairs. The cat misses a jump. The rabbit acts less social. And the family decides somebody is getting dramatic in old age. Age brings changes, yes, but shrugging at them is still a management choice. 45. Most households can locate the pet's favorite sweater faster than its records, chip number, medication list, or emergency contact plan. That works beautifully until someone else has to step in during a trip, a storm, or a rushed handoff. Sentiment fills the scrapbook. Preparedness lives somewhere in a drawer with dead batteries. 46. Because space is tight, the litter box gets placed beside the washer and dryer where there is room for everything. The spin cycle starts. The walls vibrate, and the bathroom trip now happens next to an industrial earthquake. Then owners act surprised when the cat begins seeking quieter real estate in a closet. 47. The same toy basket sits in the same corner for months while owners insist the pet has lost interest in play. Novelty matters, and rotating objects can matter more than buying new ones. Because stale stimulation disappears into the wallpaper faster than people think. The pet did not become boring. The entertainment department got lazy. 48. 2 puppies from 1 litter arrive together, and the household congratulates itself on buying built-in companionship. Then the pair bond more strongly to each other than to human guidance. Training gets muddier, and confidence problems start traveling as a matched set. What looked like a double dose of love can become a full-time management subscription. 49. In winter photos, the sweater looks charming enough to earn a holiday card slot. In summer, some owners keep dressing short-nosed or heavily coated dogs for style, shade, or pure habit without noticing how fast comfort can drop when heat gets trapped against the body. The fashion choice looks seasonal. The panting is current. 50. Before calling the vet, the owner opens 3 forums, 2 videos, and a comment thread full of people whose qualifications include owning a keyboard. By the end of the hour, the pet has gathered 7 conflicting theories and 0 real examination. The internet loves confidence, especially when it is cheap and unbothered by consequences. We have now moved beyond cute mistakes and into the national pastime of improvising responsibility. The pet is still the same creature. The pattern is what changes, because bad habits get stronger the moment convenience, embarrassment, and online advice all start shaking hands. A dog on a parking lot zipline, a cat dining beside a litter box, a carrier that only predicts doom, A forum thread replacing an actual call. That was the easy half. The back half is where the mistakes stop looking random and start revealing how often owners want the feeling of care without the structure of it. 51. Though, boarding gets chosen the way people pick cheap airport coffee. Fast, tired, price first, details later. Nobody tours the place, asks about supervision, asks how rest happens, or checks how dogs are separated when the mood changes. Then the vacation photos look great while the homecoming comes with diarrhea, panic, or a whole new opinion about kennels. 52. The microchip exists, which gives owners a dangerous sense of completion. Years later, the phone number is old, the address belongs to another tenant, and the backup contact moved to Arizona without telling anyone. Technology did its part. The database did not magically update itself out of respect for your attachment. 53. And they at the pet store checkout. A clerk making polite conversation becomes a temporary medical authority because the line is short and the advice is free. Retail experience can be useful, but product familiarity is not diagnosis, and packaging confidence is not clinical judgment. The receipt is accurate. The guidance may be auditioning area. 54. A giant bargain bag of food gets hauled home because buying in bulk feels responsible and mathematically victorious. Then one small pet spends months crawling through the same slowly aging kibble while flavor, freshness, and texture all head south in silence. Savings on paper can taste suspiciously stale in the bowl you are. 55. The internet adores homemade parasite hacks because they feel tough, natural, and smarter than paying for proven products. The problem with many of these kitchen table inventions is that pests are annoyingly indifferent to vibes and folk chemistry. The owner declares war with pantry ingredients. The fleas remain organized and underwhelmed. 56. On a stylish cat. The decorative collar looks like the final touch, if it is not designed to release under pressure, though. That finishing detail can become the world's most unnecessary argument with a shelf edge, crate wire, or branch. Fashion has many goals. Emergency escape should really be one of them. 57. Measuring cups are apparently too humble for some households, so kibble gets poured by instinct, by habit, or by the ancient family method known as that seems fine. A few extra bites repeated daily can build weight the way spare change fills a jar, quietly, steadily, and with surprising results. The bowl never looks outrageous. The scale eventually does. 58. At the dog park, the leash stays attached and drags just in case, which sounds smart until it catches under paws, sparks chasing, or gives one dog a lovely handle to grab. Half of pet mistakes happen because somebody wanted a backup plan and accidentally created a new hazard with a strap. 59. Adoption day arrives before the landlord is checked. The work schedule is tested, the travel calendar is reviewed, or the family agrees on who handles mornings. Emotion beats logistics by a landslide. Then logistics returns with interest. The pet was rescued from uncertainty just in time to be introduced to yours. 60. Every pet household assumes it will somehow work out until the first true emergency. Sudden trip or late-night delay exposes the empty space where a backup sitter plan should have been. Reliable care is not something you invent while dragging luggage through a parking garage. Panic is a terrible booking platform. And 61. When a puppy jumps on guests, many owners laugh because tiny bad behavior feels cute in a small body. Repetition is how habits become architecture. So the bouncing that gets applause at 12 pounds becomes a completely different meeting at 60. The dog has no idea the rules were secretly time-limited. 62. Resource guarding gets mislabeled as sass, personality, or just being dramatic, especially when the animal is small enough to seem unserious. Then the owner keeps testing it around toys, bowls, or couches like a scientist with zero grant money and too much optimism. Some experiments only prove the warning was real. 63. Across living rooms everywhere, owners miss the quiet body language that arrives before the obvious reaction. Lip lick, whale eye, slow turn, tuck tail, frozen spine, flattened ear. The subtitles are on, but nobody is reading. Then the louder response shows up, and the humans act like it skipped the first draft. 64. The litter aisle sells flowers, linen breeze, tropical rain, and something called mountain morning, as if cats have been asking for boutique fragrance profiles. Many cats prefer simple lit because their noses do not need a spa narrative every time nature calls. The owner chooses lavender cloud. The cat votes for the hallway planter ew. 65. Hair ties, strings, rubber bands, charging cords, and ribbon ends all remain in play because people underestimate how irresistible small moving objects can look from floor level. The whole mistake begins with "she never bothers that stuff," which is the sentence loose household items love hearing most. The kitchen floor is tidy. The temptation is not. 66. A cracked screen or barely latched window seems harmless when the pet has never tried anything. Then a bird lands outside. A truck backfires, or one burst of curiosity finally finds the weak point. Escape stories are full of owners describing a calm animal right before describing the moment it stopped being one. 67. In multi-pet homes, the bowls go down side by side because sharing space looks social and efficient. But eating can be loaded, fast, competitive, and emotionally private. So some animals gulp, hover, or guard long before the humans call attention. Dinner should not look like a regional merger under surveillance. 68. He's too old to learn that now may be one of the laziest sentences in modern pet ownership. Brains keep adapting far longer than owners keep trying, and older pets often thrive on clear routine and gentle training because it gives life structure instead of shrugging surrender. Age can change strategy. It should not cancel effort. 69. One adult says no couch. Another sneaks couch cuddles after 10. The kids invite the dog onto every bed, and the grandparents reward whichever version is cutest at the time. Inconsistent rules do not create flexibility. They create a pet that treats every boundary like an opening argument. The confusion is human-made and beautifully upholstered. 70. Novelty toys win in stores because they look hilarious, complex, and gift-worthy. What gets overlooked is durability, size, and whether the pet actually enjoys the thing once the humans stop admiring it. Owners buy for the joke, not the animal, then act surprised when the toy explodes into stuffing and disappointment before lunch. 71. The backyard gets labeled exercise the same way a waiting room gets labeled travel. Space alone is not engagement, and many dogs just patrol, bark, or lie near the door because what they actually wanted was movement, sniffing, and shared activity. A fence contains a body. It does not automatically satisfy a brain. 72. Breed purpose, species instincts, and individual temperament all keep sending the same memo. This animal was built to do certain things. Herding dogs herd. Terriers investigate. Cats climb and stalk. Rabbits need to forage and hide. Birds need mental work. Owners who ignore that blueprint usually end up calling natural behavior a personal insult. 73. Family photos demand one impossible image over and over. The child hugging the dog. The cat held like a baby. The rabbit lifted higher for the light. Everybody smiling on command. Forced affection often reads as content to humans and pressure to animals. The album gets one usable shot. The pet gets an annual trust issue. 74. The newly adopted pet comes home and immediately gets introduced to visitors. Toys, new streets, new rules, new furniture, and 6 different forms of enthusiasm. What many rescues need first is decompression, not a welcome tour with confetti energy. The owners want a beginning montage. The animal would really like fewer plot points. 75. Crates can be useful, safe, calming tools when introduced well, which makes it especially tragic how often they get used as punishment. The moment the crate becomes the place you send frustration, you attach isolation to error and wonder why calm never moves in. Security cannot share a studio apartment with blame. The pattern is getting less accidental now. Fewer of these mistakes come from ignorance alone. More come from owners treating living animals like flexible furniture. Emotional support decor, or accessories expected to absorb whatever schedule humans happen to invent next. 76. Plenty of pets receive grand romantic affection on weekends and management-level indifference Monday through Friday. The household pours out cuddles when convenient. then disappears into long days without enough structure, enrichment, or relief. Love that only clocks in when the owner feels free still leaves a full calendar of unmet needs behind it. 77. Rainy weather cancels the walk. The yard break gets shortened, and the energy that would have gone outside stays marinating in the house. Then the accident happens, or the barking starts, and somehow the pet gets blamed for failing a schedule the humans quietly abandoned. Bad weather did not break the routine. People did. 78. When cats scratch furniture, owners often describe it as revenge, attitude, or some furry little campaign of disrespect. Scratching is communication, maintenance, stretching, marking, and stress release all rolled together, which is exactly why punishing it without offering better outlets solves almost nothing. The sofa is not the crime scene. It is the bulletin board. 79. Under thick fur, skin trouble, ear irritation, or creeping discomfort can hide for longer than owners realize, especially when the pet is still eating and greeting like normal. Many households mistake a stable appetite for a full health report. Then grooming day arrives, and the body starts filing its missing paperwork all at once. 80. Some pets only ride in the car for stressful appointments, which means the vehicle itself becomes a rolling omen. Then owners act mystified when the carrier seat restraint or back seat starts triggering panic before the engine even turns over. If every road trip ends at bad news, the route does not need subtitles. 81. Endless barking gets waved off as personality because addressing it would mean changing routine, exercise, management, or supervision, noise complaints, frayed neighbor relations. And a constantly aroused dog all build slowly while the owner insists the pet is just talkative. That is one word for it. The lease office has several others. 82. In the corner of a busy kitchen, the bird cage sits beside noise, fumes, traffic, and constant sudden motion because that is where people can admire it most. The bird becomes decor in the loudest room rather than an intelligent animal with stress thresholds and routine needs. Visibility for humans often means overload for everything with feathers. 83. The little round fishbowl survives because cartoons and office desks have done decades of marketing for it. Fish still need stable water quality, oxygen, filtration, and real space, which is a boring truth that loses every shelf battle to glass novelty. The bowl looks simple. The biology inside it is not. 84. Rabbits get handled like plush toys by people shocked to discover that prey animals often dislike being scooped, restrained, and passed around for children's reactions. Fear does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it just looks still until the kick comes. Soft fur keeps getting mistaken for an invitation to ignore basic respect. 85. The tiniest hamster cages sell well because they fit neatly on a dresser and come in cheerful colors with whimsical plastic tunnels. Small mammals still need room, substrati, activity, and a setup that respects actual movement instead of theme park aesthetics. Retail loves miniature. The animal living in it does not share the nostalgia. 86. Reptiles get sold into one of the strangest myths in pet ownership. The belief that because an animal is quiet, it must also be easy. Heat, light, environment, and species-specific setup are not optional mood boards. They are the whole operating system. Silence in a tank is not proof everything is fine. 87. By the final stretch of a gathering, every guest has been allowed to lean over, pit, corner, call, feed, or photograph the same tired animal because nobody wants to seem rude. A pet social battery is treated like infinite public property. Then one clear objection finally appears, and suddenly boundaries become a scandal. 88. Gadgets start replacing observation. Auto feeders, remote cameras, smart litter boxes, app-controlled fountains, GPS collars, digital toys. Each one can help, but some owners begin treating hardware like it can substitute for actual attention. Data's wonderful right up until the human receiving. It stops noticing the animal standing 3 feet away. 89. The phone lens stays in the pet's face during meals, naps, play, stress, training, and every accidentally funny moment that could become a reel. Constant filming turns ordinary life into performance pressure for animals who never sign the release form. Some owners know their pet's best angles better than its body language. 90. Underneath many of these decisions is the same private bargain. Get a pet to fix loneliness, calm the house, entertain the kids, improve mental health, or make adulthood feel warmer. But do not restructure the life around the creature itself. Animals can enrich a life. They are terrible at thriving inside a fantasy job description. At this point, the mistakes stop looking separate. They start looking like one repeating belief that love is a feeling powerful enough to replace planning, boundaries, species knowledge, and time. The file closes now, which is exactly when the pattern gets most familiar. 91. Few owners keep written care instructions ready for the day somebody else must step in fast. Food seems obvious until brands differ. Medications blur, routines matter, and one pet's normal behavior looks alarming to an outsider. Devotion stored only in your memory is not much use in an actual handoff. 92. A quiet pet gets assumed healthy because silence is emotionally convenient for the humans nearby. But many animals hide stress, discomfort, or decline with impressive discipline, especially in homes that only react to the loud stuff. If your entire monitoring system depends on obvious drama, it is not a system at all. 93. Our guilt gets projected onto pets constantly because humans love moral stories with expressive faces in them. The dog that knows what he did often just knows your posture changed. And the cat labeled spiteful may simply be stressed, sick, or reacting to a broken routine. We keep inventing motives when management would be more useful. 94. Treats become apology language. Left for too long. Here is a biscuit. Skip the walk. Here is cheese. Yelled during cleanup. Here is a chew. Food starts patching every human emotion until the pet learns that confusion and inconsistency are both followed by snacks. It is less a nutrition plan than a guilt subscription. 95. In homes with multiple pets, high-value treats, toys, or food chews get handed out in the same room because the owners want everyone included in one cute shared moment. Resource pressure does not care about your group photo ambitions. The scene starts as family bonding and ends with everyone suddenly learning what tension sounds like. You're so sound, right? 96. Some owners refuse tools like muzzles, harnesses, carriers, or barriers because they worry those items look harsh, embarrassing, or unnecessary. Meanwhile, the pet remains harder to handle, harder to transport, or harder to keep safe because image won the argument over function. Pride is an expensive design choice. 97. Being alone is treated like a talent pets should simply possess out of gratitude for being adopted. Then owners leave without training the skill gradually, come back to damage or distress, and label the reaction dramatic. Independence is usually built, not granted, by wishful thinking and a bowl of water near the door. 98. Moving day erupts with boxes, strange smells, open doors, missing furniture, panicked schedules, and exhausted humans who assume the pet will roll with it. For many animals, relocation needs a quieter plan, a safe zone, and tighter management than the average household gives. Chaos is not a transition strategy just because it is common. 99. Training gets delayed because the problem is still manageable, still kind of funny, or still smaller than the owner's current fatigue. Habits love delay. The longer a behavior gets rehearsed, the more it stops being a phase and starts becoming the house style. Future you inherits every shortcut current you signs. 100. After everything goes sideways, owners often retreat to the cleanest defense in the file. But we love him. But we love her. But we spoil them. But they know they are family. Love matters. It just does not clean ears, teach recall, lower stress, rotate enrichment, update records, or make boundaries enforce themselves. 101. The final mistake may be the broadest one. Treating a pet as proof of identity instead of a living animal with its own wiring. The dog becomes the outdoorsy accessory. The cat becomes the apartment aesthetic. The bird becomes the conversation piece. The reptile becomes the cool factor. Once the role matters more than the reality, the animal starts carrying a script it never wrote. Back at that pet store door, the family still walks out smiling, arms full of premium intentions and beginner confidence, because almost none of these mistakes look cruel when they begin. They look normal. That is the real engine here. Bad pet ownership rarely survives on malice. It survives on convenience, projection, hand-me-down folklore, and the comforting belief that affection can cover every gap in skill. What is the weirdest pet owner mistake you have seen people defend like tradition, even when the animal was clearly voting no? If one of these scenes felt painfully familiar, you already know why this case file keeps reopening.